Five. Welcome to another episode of How to Be Happier for Entrepreneurs. Man, I get excited about these every time we do them, and this is going to be another exciting one. We have got Jonathan Slark with us. Jonathan, how are you, my friend?
I am doing amazing, Brad. How are you?
I'm awesome. Where in the world are you?
I'm located in Central Ohio, not too far from Columbus, Ohio, in between Columbus and Dayton, right in the middle of Ohio.
Sweet. Midwest. Were you born and bred there?
Yeah, born and raised in this area. Traveled around with the military for a little while, but came right back. Went to college here, started some business here, and stuck around.
Thank you for your service. I have a special heart in my place for service members, so thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
So you've got an incredible story, and we're going to share a lot of really great information with our audience today. So as we always do, we're going to jump right in. So you had this journey from a hardworking handyman to a successful entrepreneur to a mindset coach, which is truly inspiring. So it went from hardworking handyman to a mindset coach. Could you share the pivotal moment that led you to realize the limitations of the work harder mentality and how this realization transformed your approach to life and business?
Absolutely. So I started this construction company, this handyman company, when I was 18 years old. I lost my job, and all I knew how to do was construction. So at 18 years old, I start doing handyman work. I start fixing stuff, and I realized, hey, I can make a little bit more money doing this than working at a fast food restaurant. And so that's my freshman year of college. Schedule forward a little bit. We're rolling. We've got installers and teams and people, and we're making things happen. 2019 into 2020, best year I've ever had. And I'm looking at the books and I'm like, wow, this is fantastic. But I literally could not move. I was working 100-hour weeks, 110-hour weeks. I'm pushing all the people. So the revenue was great, but I personally could not move. I couldn't work another minute. I couldn't work another, that was it. And I was like, okay, I got to put in systems. I got to do something different. And that's when I started exploring, well, wait a minute. What if the hard work isn't the way to do it? What if there's another way that we can start attracting to us things that we want rather than going out and trying to fight for it all the time? So I had been doing some mindset and development coaching before that. But that was the pivotal moment, was this 2019, 2020. I'm looking at revenues, great, but I was just broken down. I was like, I couldn't move. I couldn't work anymore. And so that was the time when I was like, okay, there's got to be something different.
So you mentioned this is a lot of stuff we got to break down here. You mentioned fast food. Is that where you got fired from?
No, I was working construction through high school.
Okay.
And the guy that I was working for, great guy. We were flipping houses. I was a young kid doing whatever I needed to on the crew, and sanding drywall and cleaning out toilets. And 2006 rolls in, and it starts to become the beginning of the financial crisis of 2008. And he calls one day and he goes, hey, the bank's locked up our money. We're done. We're going out of business. Bring back your truck. Have a good one. And that was it.
And are you in high school? Are you in college? Where are you?
I had just graduated high school. This was the summer between my freshman year, senior year of college, or senior year of high school, freshman year of college.
Okay.
And I was just immediately out of a job. Dude, I was high on life. I was a crew leader for him, making $13 an hour. I was the man, and had my own truck. And all of a sudden he lets me go, and I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now? And so I went and got a job at a grocery store, making $5 an hour. I was bringing home $88 paychecks. 40-hour weeks, I was bringing home $88 paychecks.
Whoa.
And a buddy of mine calls, and he goes, dude, we had a party on campus, and somebody broke a window, put a hole in the drywall, and broke a cabinet door. And he was like, can you fix this before my landlord finds out? And I was like, yeah, sure, dude. So I charge him like $400. I get it done in an afternoon. And I realized he paid me 4 $100 bills. And that was the beginning of the construction company. because I went back to the truck and I was like, I just made $400 in an afternoon, and it takes me it takes me a week to make $88. And so that's how the construction company was born.
Wow.
That's 06. Fast forward to 2019. We've been up and down and high and low and everywhere in between in that time frame. And then 2019, we have the most profitable year we've ever had, 2019 into 2020. But that's where I couldn't move. I didn't see my family. I didn't see my wife. We're starting to have problems at the house because I'm never home, and missing birthday parties and graduations and funerals. I didn't go to a funeral because I was working.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you were pretty driven.
Super driven. Because the thing everybody tells you is grow your company, grow your company, grow your company, grow your company. And I'm just looking at dollars. I was looking at the profitability. And my guys are getting mad because I'm pushing them 100 hours a week. And
so many entrepreneurs struggle with these deep-seated beliefs from childhood that manifest as self-sabotage in their adult lives.
Yep.
I'm one of those people. I wasn't working the 100 hours a week, but I was doing something just as silly. I was taking crazy chances, and because my subconscious mind was telling me, if you make money, you're going to be worthy and you're going to be happy. Looking back, Jonathan, do you think that was driving you? Like you were saying, I've got to make a bunch of money because this is going to make me happy and fulfilled?
No doubt. Absolutely. And the other side of that, part of the reason that I was suffering so bad is because I wasn't sleeping. Ooh. And so many entrepreneurs get into this mentality of, I'll sleep when I'm dead, and I'm whatever the thing is. I'm going to go in early and I'm going to work late and I'm going to drink energy or energy drinks and coffee and whatever it is. And I wasn't doing the coffee and the energy drinks. I went to the healthy side of it. I was like, all right, I'm only going to eat fruits and vegetables, and I'm only going to drink 2 gallons of water, and I'm only going to, and that worked, but I wasn't getting any sleep. And the sleep was hurting me, or the lack of sleep was hurting me.
Were you not getting sleep because you were working too many hours that you couldn't sleep, or when you went to sleep, your mind was racing so much that you couldn't sleep?
I was on this schedule of like, all right, I only need 4 hours of sleep to be at a peak performance state, and this hustle and grind, gotta push. And because here was my back to the self-sabotage, my thought process, and this happens with women, but I think it really happens with men a lot, is we get this spot where we go, if I'm sleeping, I'm not being productive. And if I'm not being productive, I'm not bringing value. Therefore, if I'm sleeping, I'm not valuable. And I would be so tired and I need to take a nap. And I go, if I take a nap, I'm not worthy. If I take a nap, that's what sissies do. Tough guys don't take naps.
I've heard so many of my clients talk about, like, they can't even relax on vacation. They can't sit down.
Exactly.
They can't sit down with themselves. They can't be alone with themselves. And the reason is because their subconscious mind is screaming, if you're sitting there doing nothing, you are nothing. You've always got to be doing something. You got to be doing more to prove your worth, right?
Exactly. And so I lived that. I was the biggest proponent of hustle and grind and go in early and stay late and just don't sleep and push through it. And it doesn't matter what's going on. I lived it for so long. And then I got to a spot where I was like, we can't do this anymore.
So there's the striving to be enough by working your ass off. Let's figure out where that came from. What was your childhood like?
So childhood was, grew up in a decent house until I was about 8 years old, and then realized that it wasn't super great. Parents get divorced at 11 years old, bounce around from place to place for a little while. There was about every sort of trauma, drama that you could imagine. No sexual trauma or anything in that other than that. But, there was about every type of trauma mixed in with that relationship.
Wow.
Bouncing around. And that led to a spot where I felt like I had to be the man of the house at 13 years old. And, you get to a place where you're like, oh, I got to take care of this and I got to go make money and I got to do these different things. Well, that led to nefarious activities at a young age and doing stuff you shouldn't have been doing, and just to try to get a little bit of money so that you could go to the movies or put a 20 in your mom's purse, or, do different things.
Jonathan, thank you for sharing that. So a lot of people are, unfortunately, a lot of children are pushed into the role of being a parent, whether it's caring for their siblings or like you taking on the role. There was a reason that the 13-year-old took on that role, right? Can a child ever play the role of a parent effectively?
I don't think so.
No. How can they? They're a freaking kid, right? Your brain as a male doesn't even develop to age 24, so you don't know what's going on.
No.
So when you're given a job and a task that's really, really, really important and you can't do it, what do you think that little boy's saying about himself?
Oh, it brings in all this lack and self-doubt and unworthiness, and there's no way. And so people have asked me for years, why do you work so hard and how do you have this? Because here's the cool part about it. The working so hard produces a bunch of physical stuff. Cars and houses and purses and name the thing.
Women, boats, cars.
Absolutely. So people see the physical manifestation of the working hard and they go, wow, that guy must really have it together. And so, and honestly, that's why people started asking, hey, what's going on over here? What are you doing? How's this working? And then they see, oh, well, this is happening because this dude is working 6 million hours a day. And then they go, why? And I'm like, dude, this is a dysfunction, bro. This is an absolute dysfunction. Like, it must change. So that's in 2019, 2020. I was like, we got to do something different. I can't do this.
So how do you, what advice would you offer? The experience that you have coaching folks that you do now, what are the first steps in identifying and overcoming these subconscious blocks that so many people, probably you, I know me, didn't even know that they were a part of our lives, but they were driving us to do these things that were terribly negative? How do you identify these things?
So the first thing, just like you said, you got to become aware of it. Well, how do you become aware of it? Well, there's all these telltale signs going on in your life. Your spouse is probably going, hey, I want you to be here. Your kids are going, hey, when are you going to come to my game? When are you going to come to my recital? Are you going to be there? There's all these telltale signs that you're doing too much that you could probably be attracting, that you can be attracting into your life. And when I recognized that, my whole position changed. And I switched over from hustle and grind to attract and allow. And when I start attracting things and allowing them to come into my life, it just flows and there's ease with it. And you get the same amount of things. You get more things and you get it quicker and it happens faster and it happens easier and you're more in flow and the relationships just happen. You're not forcing it. So that's what the coaching is all about. Is showing these entrepreneurs how to go from this hustle and grind to attract and allow.
So I'm going to take what you just said a step further. You said your kids or your wife are probably saying, hey, where are you? Mm-hmm. You could be in bad relationships. Your kids could have behavioral problems. You could be using substances to cope. You could be doing self-destructive behaviors. You could be mad all the time, depressed, anxious, sad. Those are all indicators that you've got these underlying subconscious beliefs. So if you want to find out once and for all in just 3 minutes, go take my self-love quiz at bradchandler.com/quiz. And some of the things I just talked about are questions on that quiz. And in 3 minutes, you are going to have an awareness that Jonathan talked about. Once you have the awareness, then it really is your responsibility. I talk all the time about how it's not people's fault. And I often get back people saying, Jonathan, well, how can it not be your fault? You're an adult. And I said, for 47 years, I had no idea it was that I had any problem at all. Yep. But once you have awareness, I won't say it's your fault once you have awareness, but once you have awareness, like I was given 3 years ago, and you don't change, then you got to look to yourself. But Absolutely. You know this because you coach people every single day. How many people come to you and they're like, hey, this is my problem, and this is what's the cause of it? Hardly anyone knows the cause of their problems, right?
And I tell people exactly what you just said. I said, it may not be your fault, but now it's your responsibility. And you have to change it. Once you are aware of it, it's your responsibility to change it. And if you don't change it, your kids are going to inherit it. Yeah. And that thing really grabs people. But most people don't know. They're not aware of it. And there are so many self-destructive activities that have become normalized that so many people are just like, yeah, this is how we operate.
Yeah. I mean, there is alcohol use that's like more and more. You can go to the laundromat and drink. You go to your kid's soccer game, there's people bringing coolers. And it has become I did it for years, you know. So what if I smoke weed every night? It helps me sleep. Well, that was a complete lie. It might have made me go to sleep, but you cannot get a good night. You cannot get into REM sleep if you've got alcohol or weed in your system. So if you're a chronic marijuana user, which is only smoking twice a week or more, and you quit smoking and you wonder why you have all these dreams, these crazy dreams, it's because you haven't been having dreams because you can't get into REM state. There are so many people that say, I smoke weed because it helps me sleep. It's absolute bullshit. It might make you go to sleep, but it really messes up your sleep.
And you're exactly right. And there's all these different things. I talk to so many people and they go, well, I say, well, how often do you drink? And they're like, just a, couple 12 packs a day. And I'm like, dude, you got a problem. And I'm exaggerating. But if you have to come home and drink or smoke or use some other thing, some other substance to self-regulate your day, there's an issue.
For sure.
And there's a different way. I want you to know there's a different way. For all those people going, no, there's not. There's not an issue. Oh, there's nothing wrong. Well, just think about it for a minute.
Yeah, I quit. I went 869 days without a drink up until my 50th birthday last year in Jamaica, and I've had a couple drinks since. And man, I was the kid. I was drinking since I was 10 years old, and I was the guy who would look at people who didn't drink and be like, they are so boring. They have no idea what they're missing not smoking and drinking. Now I look at people and I'm like, they have no idea what they're missing drinking and smoking because you lose connection. You can't have really deep conversation. And if you do, you might not even remember them. I mean, I can't tell you the number of concerts and Super Bowls I've watched where I'm just like, God, I don't remember much of it. So yeah, once you take it, it's a big step to stop drinking, because why do so many people drink? Why did I smoke so much weed? It's because I didn't feel comfortable with myself. I didn't like the state. So I was trying to change the state. So work with Jonathan or work with me, change your state, and you won't need alcohol or drugs to poison your system.
And if you need a little motivator to get you to that spot, this is one thing that I heard that was really helpful to me. There was a guy saying, and I can't remember who this was, and I've quoted this so many times, I wish I could remember who it was. He said, if there's two cars, you and I are both in cars and we're both driving 70 miles an hour down the freeway. We're right next to each other, both going 70. And you light up that blunt or you start drinking, you start doing something. Do you think that you're going to slow down a little bit? And you go, yeah, I'm going to slow down a little bit. I'm going to cruise. I'm going to relax. He goes, I'm still going 70. And he said, eventually, I'm going to pull ahead of you and I'm going to keep rolling. And he said, if we walk into a deal room together to do a deal, he was like, I'm smoking you because I'm aware. I'm already ahead of you. I'm already knowing what's going on. I'm already clear. I don't have to try to come back from a hangover or figure out what's going on. And that's what really got me, because we're in the same time. I'm buying real estate and we're doing deals. And I was like, I want to be as sharp as possible. And I thought, if this gives me an advantage, if we're going to close a deal and the other team is going out drinking the night before and we're going into the closing table the next day and we're sharp and they're not, what's that look like?
Amen. I tell you what, because when I started coaching people 3 years ago, when I went through my transformation, I started thinking like I was sober at that point. And I was like, how long would this last? Because when I stopped drinking, it was only I had terrible heartburn. I'd been drinking for 3 days on my boat. And I woke up on a Sunday morning and I'm dying of heartburn. And I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. I'm going to take a little break. Well, that 2-week break turned into 869 days. But as I started helping people and learning this, and now I've become passionate, and this is my life's journey and mission and purpose is to help other people break down these limiting beliefs that we were talking about earlier. I'm like, I can't smoke weed. I can't drink, because when I read a book, I want to retain everything, because I'm helping people change their lives. And that's what's kept me sober more than anything, is because I don't forget shit, hardly ever forget stuff. I forgot stuff all the time when I was smoking weed and drinking on a daily basis. So, Jonathan, you work with a lot of entrepreneurs. You're a mindset coach. I have a question for you. Whatever someone comes to you with, depression, anxiety, they're working too much, they have a shitty marriage, their kids have behavioral problems, does it always tie back to these underlying beliefs, these underlying limiting beliefs that were created from childhood, or do you find other things?
So for the most part, there are some outliers that might have been created from other things, but they're typically huge things. But for instance, if a disease, a cancer, a death, there are these outliers, but they come from only huge major events. Most all of the others come from you were 8 years old and you bent down to tie your shoe and you'd already had a bad day and your dad called you fat and you felt stupid because you couldn't tie your shoe and your dad called you fat all at the same time. And now you've carried this with you and you're 62 years old and you still believe that you're stupid and fat, or whatever the thing is. And it doesn't have to be some huge deal. That was the other thing I found, is that people were saying to me, well, my mom said because I couldn't pronounce this word when I was trying to read in second grade, she teased me and made fun of me for it. And the way that she captured that, she internalized, oh, that makes me stupid. And that little thing, like you're hearing it and you're like, that's it? That's the only thing that's plagued your entire life? But it was everything else that was going on at the same time.
And that could keep someone from the difference between a Fortune 500 CEO and a $13 hour worker at Walmart. Their intelligence, if you look at it, their IQ is very, very, it's a lot less than you think, the variance. But that girl might believe, I'm stupid, I can never go work for Fortune 500, because her mother said that one thing.
Yes. And so most of the people that we encounter, that we coach, that we work through, and like you said, these are sharp people. They're not, you're sharp people. There is this thing, and it typically has happened somewhere between 5 and 8 years old, that there was this pivotal moment that at the time was the biggest thing. And you look back at it now and you're like, that's it? But it has shaped your entire life. And it doesn't matter the age. It does. One of the most successful guys in the class was 72 years old. And it's a huge testament, because people go, well, I'm too stuck in my ways and I'm too old and I couldn't change now and I've done it for too long. This guy's 72 and he's starting nonprofits and he's restructuring his business. And he's like, it's incredible how much change can happen, how fast it happens when you reprogram those self-limiting beliefs.
Yeah, and in the last 20 years, they've realized, they used to think from like Freud up through 100 years past Freud, that those meanings that you placed on the childhood things, they were with you forever. Now they understand through science that they're not forever, and that you can literally change those neural pathways.
Absolutely.
So I think it's why you and I are so passionate about this business, is because we see this problem, and it's an enormous problem. I mean, absolutely enormous. 33% of Americans on an anti-anxiety or antidepressant drug, right?
Absolutely.
70% of Americans on prescription medication, and I mean, obesity, divorces. And like you said, there are some outliers. There are some small genetic things. There are some, sometimes people are born with stuff, but it's such a small fraction. It really comes down to this one thing. And it's the meaning that children place on events that happen in their life. And they should have placed those meanings for the most part, because they were just protecting themselves from pain.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
They don't need 30 years of therapy like I got. They don't need 50 different marriage counseling sessions and getting nowhere. All they need is to go back. Well, let me ask you, how do you do it? I have my own way. So now you've identified that the girl, was told she was fat by her mom or not smart, whatever the examples you used. How do you get that person to release that?
So we go back and analyze it, and we realize, is this a valid thing or not? And once we start understanding that, hey, that's not going to shape you, and that, yes, you can overcome that. And we start building confidence. We have these small mile markers, and we start building the confidence. And as we start building the confidence, little things start happening. And as little things start happening, they snowball. And as you get more confidence in yourself, it doesn't matter where you are in your life. As you get more confidence in yourself, an opportunity will arise for you to take advantage of that confidence. Whether it's you get to speak up for yourself, or you get to set a boundary, or you get to have an opportunity. And that's something that you wouldn't have done before. We have a girl right now that was like, I really would love to do, she's an artist. She said, I'd really love to promote my artwork, but I'm embarrassed to put my artwork on social media. I'm embarrassed to post it. And so all we had to do was go, hey, we're going to just post a video. We're just going to post one thing. And as she started doing it, guess what happened? The floodgates opened, because she had this mentality, I'm a starving artist. Artists never get paid. And guess what starts happening? As soon as she starts posting her stuff, she starts recognizing her value.
Do you think that there's any better way on the planet, though, to create confidence in someone than to turn around the false beliefs that they create in childhood?
Once they start fixing these false beliefs, it's nonstop go from there. And we actually have a hashtag within the group that says can't stop it, because people, when we go through our course, it's an 8-week session. And I tell everybody in the beginning, I go, look, by week 4, I know you don't believe me now, but by week 4, you're going to be calling me or texting me or doing something going, you're not going to believe what just happened. Because it usually takes them, the first 2 weeks, they're like, I don't know about this. This is sketchy. I'm not really sure. But by week 3, they grab it. By week 4, they've internalized it and they're starting to work it. And then all of a sudden the magic starts happening.
It is incredible that you say that, because in week 3, that's when we do the hypnosis. And in week 4, we get the breakthroughs in week 3 and week 4. Same thing, where people are like, I can't believe how profoundly my life has changed. And all we did is we just taught them to think a little bit differently.
Yes. That's fantastic. I didn't know that.
So Jonathan, you talked about, I don't know if you've ever heard of the ACE studies, adverse childhood experiences, but it sounds like it's on a scale of 0 if you had none and you had, perfect childhood, to 10, like being the worst. It sounds like you had a pretty big number. Typically, people who have a lot of issues in childhood have some pretty rocky relationships. I know you mentioned, because we talked a couple weeks ago, you are married. Has your relationship been amazing?
It's amazing now. So this is a funny story. My wife and I actually grew up on the same street across from one another when we were little kids.
Oh my God.
And we were best friends as little kids. And, she was a little tomboy, and we dug holes and got in trouble and climbed trees and went swimming together. I mean, we were best friends.
Oh my gosh.
Her parents got divorced. My parents got divorced at almost the same time. We moved to completely separate cities, didn't see each other for 15 years or so, actually ran into each other at a bar. And this was 15 years later, and no idea. Back to the drinking thing. I had a plate of shots. I was at the bar grabbing a plate of shots, walking back to the bar, or the table with my buddies. And as I have this tray of shots walking back to the table, this beautiful woman walks up to me and she goes, "Are you Jonathan Slark?" And I said, "I don't know who you are, but yes, I am." And I put that tray of shots with them and spent the rest of the evening with her. So that's how we met again. But her upbringing, same deal. Drinking, not with her specifically, but the family dynamic. Divorce, infidelity, abandonment, massive amounts of family trauma within this. Bouncing around, super controlling stepfathers, all the mix of trauma that you could imagine. So she and I get back together, and then we add alcohol to the mix, and what do you think happens? It's just
I'm sure it was just complete bliss.
It was just wonderful. So then on top of that, this is the beginning stages of the construction company. So I don't have any money. So we're just doing whatever we want to do. We're living free, and we're drinking all the time. And so it was not super productive. And then you go to the military and they sort of teach you how to handle yourself in a different way. And then you come back and you start drinking and going to bars, and then somebody talks to your girlfriend the wrong way. And then so all this fighting gets involved with it. And it was not good at all.
So I was kidding about the bliss part, because most relationships start with bliss, right? But did you have years or months or just complete rockiness you were just battling each other?
It wasn't months, but it would be these spats of 2 days here, 2 days here, 2 days here, a week here. And we joke with each other. We were like, we were so poor that we couldn't leave each other. We had nowhere to go. And honestly, that bond of I'm mad at you, you're mad at me, like, but we have a common goal right now, which is to overcome the shittiness of our upbringing or the situation we're in or this environment. That was always the bigger thing. So although we were arguing and although we were fighting, we had this common goal, and we were able to sort through it by that. Well, that common goal, we realized that we really loved each other. And that, go ahead.
And do you think most of your fights had nothing to do with the actual fight, but the way you each felt about yourself from your childhood?
1,000%. She grew up in an environment where listen to this. So she grew up in an environment where men were domineering and were telling women all the time, you better do this, blah, blah, blah. And so she comes from this place where she is forced to be subservient. I come from an environment where when men want what they want, they scream and yell. So what am I doing? As soon as we start to argue, I start screaming and yelling. She shuts down. I'm getting pissed because I don't understand why she's shutting down and why she's not talking to me. And the more angry I get, the louder I get, she shuts down more. It was just us going in complete opposite directions. But as I started to grow and go, look, I really love this woman. I want to be with this woman. What do I got to do to be different? And she going, I love this man. I want to be with this man. What do I got to do to be different? And as we start working together going, all right, I promise I won't scream at you as much if you promise you'll speak to me. And that's basically how it started. It was just these little grasps of, because we didn't know what to do.
And how much better and more connected are you now than in those days with her?
Absolutely incredible. It's unbelievable.
So can anyone do this? If anyone can do it, right? And if they've got a shitty marriage, is it most likely not because of the actual marriage, but because of them each bringing in these things from their past, from their childhood?
Absolutely. You should see. So when people come into the course, and I'm sure you see this exact same thing too, and they will come in for whatever the thing is. They go, I want to make more money, or yep, I want to improve my body image, or I just want some self-confidence. And you see all these other key indicators that start changing their relationship. So if they come in for relationships, not only does their confidence in their relationship get better, they also end up making more money. Or if they come in for body image, their relationships get better. Like all the other things start changing. If they come in for money and their sole thing is money, it's incredible how the relationships start changing, because it's all the same work. Yeah. And as you start working on you, and you start focusing on what you need to do different and how you can change, it starts changing everything around you.
Yeah, one of the past, I think a couple of podcasts before this one is Brent Bowers, who is a coach, and he came on the podcast and he said he came to me with overwhelm and racing mind. He's like, Brad, since working with you starting 6 months ago, I've doubled my income, and he already had a good income. So yeah, I mean, we can't. When we talked about time earlier, I said the podcast is about a half an hour, and you're like, man, I could talk about this for 24 hours. I literally could talk to you until I fell asleep in this chair. This stuff is so amazing. It's so life-changing. We're two testaments of it. And, combined, we've got hundreds and hundreds of clients that have as well. And I'm going to let you leave with a message. But the message I want to leave is, you've just seen this. We've talked about it. We lived it. If you're struggling, if you're suffering with racing mind, working too much, bad relationships with your family, with your kids, you're depressed, you're anxious, it all comes back to the same thing. 99% of the time, it's just these false beliefs that you've put in your head to survive your childhood. And if you're ready, you got to be ready, and you got to believe change is possible. Call Jonathan or call me or call my partner Yvonne, and your life can change in ways that you probably can't even imagine.
Well, and the speed with which it can change. That's the incredible thing. So our company is called the Quantum Development Academy because I tell these people, you come in here, this is not like taking the stairs. You get in these classes, this is like an elevator. Like, and people keep telling me, oh, well, there's no way you can change so fast and make it meaningful and lasting. I'm like, dude, look at this.
3 hours it took me. I went to 30 years of therapy, and in a 3-hour session, my life changed 100 times more than the 50 marriage counseling and the three decades of therapy.
Yes, and it changes so fast. And just like you said, like I was saying a second ago, by week 4, you're going to grab it. And I promise you, whether either one of our classes, you're going to call one of us and go, I can't believe this just happened. And as soon as you grab that, and Brad just said it, the belief, when you grab the belief, you start feeling the way you want to feel, and you believe it's possible. And you better buckle up because it's starting to happen.
Yeah. So, Jonathan, how do people reach you? Best reach you?
Best way to do it is through Facebook. You can send us a message through Facebook. You can send me a message at Jonathan Slark on Instagram. Actually, Jonathan Slark on Instagram is at One King Johnny, Jonny. Jonathan Slark at Facebook.
Spell that for us.
Jonathan. Jonathan. Last name is Slark. Slark. Jonathan Slark.
Jonathan, that was amazing, brother. Thank you so much for coming on. I want to keep in touch with you.
Yeah, dude.
I love to hang out with people and talk to people who are on this journey. And if you want to be part of the journey, we both have amazing community. So reach out to us. I am on a mission to help 1 million people before I leave this beautiful planet. And I'm manifesting another 60 years of life. But I need your help. So if you like this show, can you please just go spend 3 minutes, just give it a rating, give it a 5-star review, share it, whatever you have to do, because there are a lot of suffering people. And if you're one of them, you don't have to suffer. You don't have to struggle. So help me get this word out. Until next time, love heals all. Thanks, everybody.
See you guys later.